My name is Bradley Wagner. I don't really know history as much as you guys do. My dad, Frank, and then his mother was Kieffer, and then all the Kieffer, I think they were Fleagles. He'll be able to explain that more when he talks. But I really don't know much. I'm very interested in learning about it. I'm glad that I came here to learn Hilda and connecting with her, because she has interest that I have, trains in the Civil War, as many of us here have already talked about. That's how I know of my genealogy on that side of the family. About myself, I just retired from the Army after 23 years as a field artilleryman. And while I was in the Army, I've been all over the place, from Fort Sill to, I was in Korea for a year. I did 2 tours in Germany for total of 8 years. So I was at Fort Drum, New York. I was in Seattle, Washington at Joint Base Lewis McChord. And I just finished up at Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas. I was an artilleryman, so basically I got to blow stuff up from really far away. I did 4 or 5 tours overseas, 2 to the Balkans, 2 to Afghanistan, and then 1 in Iraq. Like I said, 23 years in the Army. Now I'm done, so now I'm going to be a what's called a composite repair on the wind turbines that some people like, some people don't, but it's going to support my family, so I like it. I have a wife, 2 sons, 7-year-old, or I'm sorry, 8 years old, he just turned 8, and then I have a 3-year-old that just turned 3 on Thursday, which after here, my dad and I are going to his birthday party. And that's Gage and Gunnar Wagner, and then Shannon's my wife. And I guess that's really it. I can go on and on. I was an Army recruiter, so I like to talk, but I will keep it short because my life's not as interesting as you all. So, but very much look forward to coming here again next year, bringing my family. Since they're so little right now, we didn't bring them because Gunnar is a terror at 3 years old, and we didn't know what this situation was going to be, and didn't want him running around getting on people's nerves. So someday he'll watch this maybe and see how I'm talking bad about it. But anyway, but yeah, we look forward to coming back here next year and hopefully expanding this. I think that's about it.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Frank W. Wagner. My mother was Pauline Jeanette Kieffer, and she was the daughter of Annie Charity Fleagle. Well, Annie Charity Kieffer, which she was born a Fleagle. And I've been back and forth a couple times to the reunions here, but I haven't really come to them in the last 10, 12 years, I guess, maybe a little bit more. Anyway, that now that I'm retired, and I definitely want to reach out to all people that know about my family and see what I can find out about it. Myself, I was born in Pikesville, Maryland. My dad worked with, his name was Frank Felix Wagner, had worked for the Western Maryland Railroad all his life. As a matter of fact, we lived in the station house of Mount Wilson. That belonged to the Westminster Railroad for the first 13 years of my life. And then we moved to Pikesville. And then from there, Grandma Kieffer gave my mother the parcel of land off the family farm up on Stone Road. So I live up on the family farm. I did get a map just the other day and found out that on that side of the family of Kieffer, there was an Amos Kieffer that owned the property back in the 1800s. But I'm going to do some more research on that and see where that leads us. And then I moved up to Carroll County, like I say, when I was 13 some years old, to the property up there, and graduated from Westminster High School in '66. Did 4 years to become a machinist. That's what kept me out of the Army for 4 years of my life. But at the end, I did get drafted and did a year and a half in the United States Army. And it was so funny. I was in the 2nd Battalion, 15th Artillery. Bradley, after he was in the Army for about half of his career, he ended up in that same unit at a different location, but we were both artillerymen. And then after the Army, I came back out and didn't like the work inside a machine shop anymore. So for a while I kind of roved around, did outside jobs until I finally decided to work at the stone quarry in Medford, and I put 37 years in with the stone quarry out there. Then when I retired, I did part-time security work out at Carroll County Village. Liked that before, so I went back again for the second time, and I have over 5, going on 6 years as a security guard out there now. So I got a lot of time on my hands, and I definitely want to meet up with a lot of the Fleagles and stuff. The names that we were talking about is coming back to me of my cousins and stuff. I could go on and on, I guess, on that, but I, again, will be here, as Bradley said, next year, and bring my family.
What do you know about your relatives on the Fleagle family?
On the Flegal side, like I say, I know that Annie C. Kieffer, her name was, her maiden name was Fleagle. So she was a sister to Jeanette Fleagle, the school teacher. The other lady that you said was the secretary.
Rena Fleagle.
Reenie, we always call her Reenie. Yeah, Kennedy Fleagle.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew Miriam Linger as a child. We lived on the next street over when we lived in Pikesville, and it kind of made me laugh when it said the little girl was 2 years old, Robin. Well, that little girl I babysat when I was 13 years old in Pikesville. It's just a lot of memories coming back about that, and I like to think of those memories. My mother got Alzheimer's at the end of her life. They say you should open your mind to memories and stuff to keep yourself going. So again, that's a good thing to do that, and this is a good avenue to take. So
Just
I'll
on
be
that
back.
too, the 1962, to ask with the family, the 1962 picture, both Aunt Ruthanna and Aunt Virginia are in that picture. That was also, that lived right up, that was Aunt, or my grandmother, his mother's sisters. Uncle Melvin, he's missing from the picture though.
And also their
they're in the
brother, their brother Benjamin.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's the other one that, yeah, Uncle Benjamin's in that picture,
Oh,
but
I
Uncle
did not
Melvin's
see
missing.
There
that.
were, I think,
But yeah.
like 8 or 9 kids in that family, and they all grew up in Mayberry,
Yes.
back at what is now the gun club property. At that farm, they all grew up there, so.
That's Annie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And most of them went to the little Mayberry school, right there in Mayberry.
Yeah.